right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of All Things Considered. As always, support U.S. ARC. They fight for our rights as reptile keepers. All right, so I'm finding that motivation is very, 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 very low today. As I have off tomorrow. Today is my last day of work for the week, and then off for the holiday. And yeah, it's going to be a fun day. So I'm going to try to actually get things done, given that I do have 3 days off this week from work. So things, ultimately will pile up for me when I come back. But it is what it is. It's nice to, have a break. Let's see who's in the chat. Good morning, Stan. Thanks for tuning in. Good morning, Jessica. Thanks for tuning in. All right. So this is kind of last minute for when I came up with what I wanted to talk about today. And it's really, I don't know, twofold, as the title says, sales and rescues. Obviously, right now we're hitting, the holiday season for Christmas, and Black Friday's coming up and all that stuff. So, somebody who's worked in retail before, this was a time of year that I absolutely hated. I had one Black Friday at Walmart, and I had another one when I was at Amazon, and I think the one at Walmart was probably the worst. Morning, Nicole. So, I got to see a lot. It was actually nice. Thank you. Nice to experience that, from the other side, not being a consumer. So Walmart was definitely the worst. Hey, at this point, Nicole, I respond to Ken. Sometimes I don't hear the T. So what I learned when I was there, other than that fact that they'll make you work almost, 2 shifts within, 5 or 6 hours of each other, which is kind of crazy. So on Thanksgiving, I worked from 6 to 2 in the morning, and then I came back in, that same day. So that was rather miserable. But what I noticed is that a lot of stuff that we brought in at Walmart was not the stuff we have on the floor, right? So everything designed for these sales was something specific, right? Unless it was like Beats or something where they're not really going to make another product. Morning Blakers. So, you go see this TV that you think you're getting a deal on, but it's a wholly separate TV from the one that's on display in the store. But at least this was the case when I was there. So when you think you're getting that 50% off deal, you're not. It's, that was the intended price. They just have that up there. So you think you're getting a deal. Thanks, Nicole. I needed to get a haircut for the holidays. My mother did not like the fact that I looked like a mountain man. So, I wanted to, sort of dovetail that into, what we see going on now in the, in the ball python reptile market. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having sales, especially this time of year, though I kind of disagree depending on where you're at. If you're going to ship anything out, at least where I'm at, it's getting pretty cold, and, the holidays are already busy to begin with. So, I mean, is that a risk you necessarily want to take? So if I were ever to do that, I'd probably, postpone it, make sure that the buyer would know that, hey, you're going to get this shipped when it's safe to be shipped. I don't want to, have a snake get lost, spend an extra day or two somewhere, or, there's inclement weather, something like that. But again, there's nothing wrong with offering these sales. We all have to try to do something to either stay relevant or move inventory. And I know this is not, TVs or whatnot, it's live animals, so it's a little different. And you kind of can't sit on it infinitely. But you do need to be able to, if you're in this for, business, whatever, to be able to move your inventory. And, with the prices being down, the economy being meh, and already right now, we're heading into the holiday season, people are going to probably be looking to spend on, other things. But if you have something for the right price that's visually appealing, especially at a show, chances are it's going to move, especially if it's, more unique and it's not something that's, consistently out there in the market where they're, sort of like you see that deal and you feel that impulse to buy that specific thing. Because if there's a lot of inventory of something in a market, you can wait. And I think that's something we're running into now. But overall, I don't really have an issue with people running these sales. If I were to offer, something 50% off a morph market, it's probably going to be closer to what I'd have stuff listed for at a show. Or something closer to that, what's that lowest I'd be willing to accept. So I don't really have an issue with it. I just have an issue when it goes to the point of like seemingly desperation. And depending on how your feed goes on Instagram, you might be seeing a lot of that stuff as well. But again, not that big of a deal. I mean, right now, it's definitely a buyer's market when it comes to a lot of things. Where the prices have dropped. So I know I've been even in this year, I've been able to get deeper into projects for a lot less than I expected, going from purchasing something in the beginning of the year where it was a lot higher to something, later in the summer, early fall, where I was actually surprised to get what I got for, that lower price, considering what I had paid earlier in the year. So if you have the money, you have the space, take advantage of these sinks that are going for, less, depending, and if they fit in your project, that's great. I was able to finally get into DG after forever, and I probably should have gotten into it a while ago, but I have one female here, and I have a male and a female coming as soon as they're paid off. But they have a couple more codoms and things like that, so it wasn't necessarily something I could just buy on a whim right away. And the breeder's willing to work with me, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, had the market not been where it's at right now, I probably wouldn't have taken advantage of some of these things. But that being said, if you see anything, that catches your eye, definitely, pull the trigger. Help some of these breeders out that are trying to move their inventory, get ready for the upcoming, season of hatchlings and things like that. Excuse me, I'm dealing with allergies for whatever reason. There's a bunch of pollen. Anyway, so I mean that's really it. On sales that I wanted to talk about. Like I said, I don't have an issue. It happens all the time in other, other business areas, other industries. You're going to see it a lot right now. Everything's going to be, look like it's marked down, but it's also a sales tactic. From the retail aspect I was touching on earlier. If you see something, 50% off, or you see like a price that's slashed, and then they like to do the $99.99. That's also one of the tactics that they'll use, because for some reason we think that's less than whatever that whole number is above it. So that's we might buy something on impulse that way. Same with like end counters and things right around the checkout aisle. So just when you're shopping, those are some things to look out for. Also, the stuff they want you to buy is at your eye level, and the stuff they want your kids to buy is at their eye level. But anyway, so to move on to the next thing I want to talk about, and this one is kind of, if you're doing it and you're doing it the right way, I respect you and I appreciate you. And that's rescues. Because I see on, let's say, Craigslist or the Facebook groups, there are people that are, saying willing to accept, any animal, things like that. Pretty much, what do you have to give me? And I don't really like that, right? Now, obviously, if you're somebody that's caring for these animals and taking in, anything that somebody can't care for, that's one thing. If you're a pet keeper like that, good for you. I mean, there's a lot of places, a lot of people that, get into this and can't really, they get in over their head, things like that. So if you're willing to take in those animals, that's great. But the ones I'm talking about are the ones that, say they're a rescue, but actually sell the animals, and not for like a minor adoption fee, things like that, like we see with dogs and other animals. It's sort of, they're getting these animals on the cheap, whether or not they're healthy, vetted, things like that. And then you see them in the same group or on Craigslist again, selling or rehoming these animals, or they're even worse, they're vending them at a show, um, and that's something that, I can't stand by. You're parading yourself around as like a rescue, and somebody gives you an animal in good faith, and then in turn you're going to flip it on and sell it to somebody else. That's not right. For me, when you call yourself a rescue, now this is a little bit different than like a wildlife rehab facility, things like that. But generally, you're a 501c3 nonprofit, right? So you're taking donations, you have a board, you have some governance. You're not just a pet keeper in a house. So I don't like one, maybe it's nomenclature, but I don't like that there's a section of the population that's going to parade around as a rescue and ultimately flip these animals. If you are, just be transparent and honest about what you're doing. If you are a pet keeper that's just looking to take in what people can't handle, maybe something's got MBD, and you know how to care for these animals, I'm fine with that, because that's better than the alternative. But when I think of a rescue, maybe this is just me coming from my background. It's that 501c3. It's an organization. They have a facility where they do these things, and they're taking in anything, or at least that they're the first step to go. So if you're in Pennsylvania, let's say you have an alligator that you've outgrown, or that's outgrown you, and you shouldn't have bought it in the first place, these are the places where these would go, and ultimately they'd be like sort of the middleman between you and that final destination. Now I say alligators because it's become an issue in certain parts of Pennsylvania, but I look at it as a nonprofit entity, where there's governance, there's record keeping, things like that. It's like rather official, not just me in my home, just taking in free animals from other people. Now, like I said earlier, there's nothing, like, I don't want to offend anybody that rescues animals, or takes in pets from others. That's a little bit different. I'm talking about the ones that their social media handles, like everything is like on that rescue, right? And they're not. They're not a 501c3. Now, I'm probably nitpicking there, but that's how I feel, because it's a misrepresentation. So I'd like to see us sort of police that and call out the people that are the ones that are misrepresenting themselves as one thing, and then going and flipping an animal as soon as possible just for that quick buck. Because if I can get taken a normal for free and I can sell it for $20, if I got it dropped off here or picked up rather close, that's rather quick return on investment, and I don't like that. Chances are that if I picked it up today, never fed it, and then sold it tomorrow, that's not right in my opinion. And I know a lot of this is sort of on the same tangent and vent from when I talk about shows and what tables not to look at. It's just I can't stand that. It's not like you got a bunch of iPads on sale and flip them. These are living things. So I mean, it's really different, and it irks me when people do that. Like, even when I was talking about it before in the whole flipping aspect, like if I'm going to take it, say somebody's got racking and it comes with snakes, and that's the only way I'm going to get that racking, and the price is right, but it comes with snakes that animals that don't fit in my collection. Now I'm probably going to purchase that racking to upgrade my infrastructure, but the snakes will stay here for a while. They'll be in a separate room, quarantined, and I'm going to be upfront with whoever I'm buying it from. Excuse me. So I'm going to have these animals here. I'm going to take care of them, but ultimately I'm going to move on from them, and just be upfront about it. It's not going to be immediate. It'll be I have to make sure that they're healthy and all that. But yeah, I think that's different. It's not like I'm buying it on a Tuesday and taking everything to the show on that Sunday. I don't like that aspect. And I know I've touched on that a lot, but those are my two really. I don't know why they came up this week as things to talk about. Maybe because it was last minute and I didn't really have much to go on. So, yeah, we'll see. Saturday, I think I am doing Shedding Your Skin. Penn State plays at night in this game. That doesn't really matter. So that'll be normal time. I don't know if I'm going to have a guest or not. I'll probably reach out to some people today, but it is, I believe it was the first day of deer season in Pennsylvania. So a lot of people will be out. Hopefully somebody, if they are in PA and hunt, they'll be back, for, but, I don't want to, take a chance that somebody does, get a deer late and, then they can't join. So, if I don't find somebody, today or tomorrow, it'll probably just be me or a panel. And I hate doing them solo because of my crappy planning in advance, or because there's college football and I'm just doing a short rehash of what I do on these Tuesday shows. So I want to, try to get me better, but just the timing on a Saturday is not the best. It's 4:00. So, I am able to get people West Coast at lunchtime and people, on the East Coast before dinner time. But the Saturday is a day for, college football all day in season, and for, it's when most reptile shows are. So if you're vending, chances are, those days are out. I know a couple of weeks ago I didn't do a show because I was vending, and I didn't, for whatever reason, put up any content that day. But I want to sort of be better moving forward and plan things out like I was doing previously. Just life gets in the way. I like having my Saturdays. So hopefully, we can get this fixed and I can get back on track with guests and things like that. But it is, the holiday season, people are traveling to as well. So, it might just be something that starts up again, more properly as we get into the new year. But I'm going to cut it a little bit short today because I do want to make sure I get to work earlier so I can leave earlier, because it's my last day before this longer Thanksgiving break. So I do want to, take advantage of maybe an extra half an hour that I don't have to be there in the afternoon, because I can take my time in the morning, have my coffee, read my emails, do that stuff for like a half an hour, and sort of milk that. Because I am going to be off tomorrow, so your motivation is low today. With that being said, like I know this is shorter than I usually go, but I don't really have too much to talk on. I don't want to ramble on much more. So everybody, I will see you in the chats. Have a nice Thanksgiving. If I don't talk to you or interact with you anywhere, if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, have a good rest of the week. If you hunt, good luck this weekend, and I will see you next time.